What's up, guys, and welcome to the Rebalance podcast, where we dive into topics that matter most when it comes to overcoming struggles, injuries, and finding balance in your life. Everybody's idea of balance is that bit different, so my goal is to give you different perspectives, practical tips, as well as expert insights into what it means to live a balanced life. My name is Robbie Cassidy. I'm a physiotherapist and a health coach, and I've been helping people reignite their love for challenge, overcome their fear, and find more balance in their life through the process of self-development. So, let's get into it. Guys, for those who don't know, we have Paddy the Hooligan here. He is a retired UFC fighter. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt. He owns a gym here in Tallaght, and he's also a independent councilor. Am I right in saying?
Absolutely, yeah, councilor. No, I'm not the type that looks after people's brains or that. Yeah. I think people sending people the problems going on here. No, I'm not that type of councilor.
So come here. Do you want to talk a small bit about, I suppose, yourself, how you got into training first, and then we can as we go through it, we can talk about it.
Yeah. So we've probably told that story a million times. So anybody that's ever heard it has heard it. So at the time, my girlfriend at the time was having a baby, and I just fucking was like, I need to do something with my life. You know what I mean? I just don't want to be ordinary. You know. So
yeah.
So I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I started training, and I never looked back. And here we are, about 16 years later, I think.
Jesus, yeah, it's a long time. It's a long journey.
Get on the path and stay on the path.
Exactly, that's it. In the Paddy has an excellent book out at the moment, The Hooligan, and in the book you actually talk a lot about how, I suppose, you were thrown into. You didn't really have a choice in getting into the fighting lifestyle.
Well, I grew up in a council housing estate, a proper council housing estate. You know what I mean? And I love it. I think that I've heard the term working class culture. I think that's absolutely a thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I grew up in the Wild West, you know what I mean? The Wild West of Tallaght. But it was great, single parent household, just me, my mum, my sister. All of my friends would have been a little bit older than me at times. Now I grew up between there and Lanadown in Belfast, which would be another kind of like rough nationalist housing estate, you know? So yeah. I used to go from frying pan to the fire, but as a kid I never remember going like, this is terrible, you know?
Yeah.
I was like the wind was in my red hair, and I was just like that wild child. So fighting was a part of it, you know. Whether it was like a football going over a jumper, and someone was like, "That was it, it was it," or whatever, you know, them fights. And they're serious fights. So that like that, but nothing too serious. You know what I mean? The good thing about them days was that people fought with their hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
as well. So any fights we had was with hands. People I would still see now as adults, we'd be collecting our kids from schools and be like, well, we had a dust up.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Jesus.
So, I always enjoyed the the camaraderie of fighting, if you get me.
Yeah, and when you got into the club, then was it with John Kavanagh you started out with?
Yeah,
was from the start. With
John, me and my best mate Dean Donnelly, who just got his black belt there the other day. We went into a little club in Racool. It was SPG, a small SPG on the door, and it was incredible. Like even when Dean was getting his black belt the other day, I told this story of like, I remember driving home and I'm coming through a roundabout and I said to him, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And he was like, relax you, it's only the bleeding first day. How do you complete the beginner's program? And I'm like, I just felt it though. I just felt that like, this is what I'd been looking for. So like, I fell in love straight away. You know what I mean? Because you train yourself.
Yeah.
You're a blue belt, so... and your actually first session was with me.
Oh, yeah, I was
years ago.
I was going to say, that's a story that I was training in Athlone for a couple of weeks, and Paddy came up to give a seminar, and at the end of the seminar, I had been training mostly with blue belts. There wasn't really anyone around that would have been any higher, and Paddy came up and taught me a quick lesson in that I thought I was young and athletic and could get around, but my God, I was tied up in a knot every 2 seconds. But from that point, to be honest, Paddy, I said it to you, that was the start of my jiu-jitsu journey. That's when I was like, there's levels to this game that I need to get to, like that I want to get to.
That's a beautiful compliment. And there's a thing about jiu-jitsu that I say that people miss is they find the magic fairly early if they stay on and they become black belts, whatever way. They find the magic early, but sometimes what happens is they lose it. They lose what it really is. The real part of jiu-jitsu is the happiness it makes you. They come and training with your friends. They learn the growth, the lessons that it's teaching you, the humility. But sometimes it can get a little bit too focused on, like, I think, like, on the competitive part of it and the competition side of it. And to me, if people are doing that, I love that as well. But don't lose the magic. Yeah. Don't ever lose that little feeling that you had there. That's a huge compliment to me, for me to say that. Like, we rolled a little bit of time that I spent maybe rolling with you and stuff like that, and in the nicest way possible, like, trying to show you that, like, this is not about being strong, it's about being technical. And then you, maybe that sparked a little seed in you.
That was it, yeah.
And then you were doing something in your life that's keeping you mentally well, physically well, all of the good stuff, you know.
It was coming from, because boxing was my background. Like, I'd boxed for maybe 16 or 17 years, and it was something that I was looking for a nearly an out, because boxing, you were just taking shots all the time.
Yeah, it's heavy, man. And I boxed as well.
Did you? Yeah. And I was looking at it. Obviously you did at the highest level, but I was looking at I was looking for something that you could get into, but you could do for the rest of your life. Boxing isn't something you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think I even say that I get lads that are in say a little bit later in life, and maybe they done kempo or kickboxing or something like that back in the day, and I say to them, try jiu-jitsu. They turn up the gym, they're like, I want to do a kickboxing class, I'm getting back into it. I'm like, oh, when did you try and do? Like, well, I was about 12.
Yeah.
It's like, but they still have that link, it latches on to
yeah,
it. Because it's a real feel, it's a real magic, and it is in kickboxing and boxing and all these kind of things. With jiu-jitsu, I think when you look at people like Hilo Gracie and stuff like that and all, you can do it into your 90s, and not only that, but it's like giving your kids an invisible sword. It's like passing on this sword to them, that you know that if something happens, they won't only physically be able to defend themselves, but they will be mentally prepared to be able to deal with the situation. Now, depending, obviously, there's escalate levels outside, like with self-defense.
Yeah.
There's a great saying Chris Hodder's is you should train street, art and sport.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So street is when you actually have to defend yourself and there's no limits outside the rules, so anything can happen. Someone can kick you in the head on the ground. The art part of it is the belts, is the stripes, is the honour, is the camaraderie, is the thing. And then the sport part of it is when you introduce rounds, points, limits, referees. Some people go all hell for leather on the sport part and they don't think of anything else. And then they get grabbed in a headlock by somebody and they shit themselves.
Yeah,
but they're not too thing. Now, I'm not saying you should be trying like kicking people in the ground, but you should always keep your mind on that this is self-defense first, and everything else comes after that. But there's a part I'd like to add to that: emotional.
Yeah.
So it should be street, art, sport, and emotional. And I think that's what it is. If you can develop them four parts of yourself, you will be fairly equipped as a human.
And when you started out then, like looking at that, obviously you had started out, you had to kind of climb the ranks as normal with the street first and then into the art side of it. When you were in the gym at the start, when did you start to decide that, okay, this was going to be what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and as well as like, this is something that I want to get to the highest level at?
I actually started out backwards, I'd say. Right, so the triangle built itself the wrong way or something like that. I started out wanting to be a coach.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I first started, I had done my personal training things and all that kind of stuff, and anatomy and physiology. I was lucky to go to Canada and live in Vancouver for a little while. Now, at that stage, I was a blue belt, but I had been training in jiu-jitsu, and then I said, right, you know what? I'd actually really love to coach this.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to be a coach. Like, it made me want to coach. And then, I won't say it was an accident, but I started fighting, and then I realised that, like, when I was looking around, I had the stones, if you must, to fight. Might not have the skill set, but I had the attitude, I had the will at the time, and I could gain the skill, you know what I mean? But where some people, they're upside down as well. They've got massive amounts of skill,
but no attitude.
But the minute you turn it on, it's like they freeze, and I still see it. There's about 10 humans in the whole world, I think, and we're just copies of it, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good way, it's a good way of looking at it.
You get people that you put them in front of people and they turn on, some people turn off, some people can't fight but then, like, you know, look like it, and then you prod them and they snap and pull your head off. And so I love that. I'm interested in all of that. It's a psychology part of it.
Yeah, it's huge. I suppose looking at the psychology part of it, when you were in the gym and you had all the other guys as well around you, because I know you were in the gym originally before Conor was there, was it?
I think it's only weeks or something in it. I think weeks in it.
Is that all it was?
Yeah, that whole contingency was mad, because it was like the Big Bang. You know what I mean? Like,
it just exploded, like, really, didn't it?
But even the idea of, like, it was so many people together that are all household names now in a way. Like, there's a lot of these people. I feel like me going downstairs and you looking at that mat, and then every single person on that mat then being known by people that we don't know. That's when obviously you're known, but it is, you know. Yeah. It's like if somebody knows you, someone knows me, but we know that person, then that's how we know them. You know, how weird it got for me was when we start going to the shops and the person behind the counter was having a conversation with somebody else about Conor or about UFC Dublin.
Yeah.
And you're just standing there like, this is mental. This is madness. Like, so most of the people I grew up with now, which is incredible, I was only counting them the other day, are all black belts in jiu-jitsu. So I'll be like you're kind of Matt now, and you're say 20 people that you know. I think about 20 people that I know about. I think about 10 or 11 of them that I came up with, black belts or brown belts or went on to fight in the UFC. So we were in a group that was pretty serious at that time, you know. And
do you think that kind of that formed your mindset a bit, or changed your mindset around like what was achievable or what you wanted to get to?
Absolutely. I always I had that belief in me, but there's no doubt Conor shot down some bleeding concrete walls in everyone's mind around us. So he was doing that with society and with the nation basically. So imagine what it was like when
you were there
when
next
you
to
were in
him.
the rooms with them. You know what I mean? You were able to have a conversation and I consider Conor a friend. You know what I mean? And someone who I would be loyal to because he has always been loyal to me in times like that. And you don't, you know what I mean? You do not mistake loyalty because it's. When loyalty is, I don't know, it's a cover as well sometimes for people, but with him, he was able to smash down all of them walls, and I was loyal to the idea of watching what he was doing and fascinated by it too as well. Friend and a fan, you know what I mean, in that way. So
yeah.
That to me, and then I had that bit in me. I don't care. I don't have nothing to lose here. I am going for it. I'm getting on that slope and I'm going for it. And then when I did start getting stuff to lose, fighters, that happens to them as well, and I see it happening still now. So as a coach, it helps me so much because I'm going through these waves and I'm like, oh, here it is again.
Yeah.
People get things to lose. So right now you might have I'll jump out of an airplane, I'll drive a bike really fast, and then you have a child, or then you get a real big promotion in your job, or you have a sponsor or something. Then you grow fear. Because the fear is not attached with probably dying or whatever. It's the fear is now that I actually don't want to leave here now. Yeah. So you have something to lose, and when you gain something to lose, you gain a fear. But fighters happen like that. The first 3 fights are invincible, they're great, they're in the dressing room. Then all of a sudden they're 3-0, and now people are messaging them for interviews and asking them what their view is on this, and they're like, oh my god, people expect me to do shit now. And that's a real moment as a fighter, and that's a sink or swim moment for some fighters.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a. When there is, as you said, like, when there's dependables on you, I can only imagine. I don't have any.
Expectations. That's it. But I'm not even people outside, but expectations. People have expectations on what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Say your podcast starts going well. When we're sitting there doing this podcast, you'll be a little bit more nervous because you're like, well, shit, people are listening.
It's I hope anyway.
Like, that's how it goes, and that's usually a sink or swim moment for people. With me, just to go back to the start of the question, I never really cared. I was on a mission to make it. Or born into flames. Yeah,
really.
In a way.
That's one way of looking at it. I suppose when you were in the book, you talk about when you were in Belfast and you were fighting for 150, 200 pounds or pittance, at the start. What was the mental shift from being at a gym in Belfast or the back of a GA club in Belfast, and then actually moving over to the likes of having to fight in Nova Scotia, in Glasgow, or even fighting in Dublin, the biggest stage? How was it?
There's an arena down the road called the Basketball Arena, and anybody that's legendary in Irish MMA because it was like a cauldron. It's like how many people fit in it. Rumour has it 15,000. And it felt like 15,000 at times. You know what I mean? People squashed up to the walls, tickets getting paid for, that idea's out the window. Even the woman selling the tickets is in the arena. It's just it's bedlam. And that's where we came up in a little bit of it, you know what I mean? So what I do with my own fighters now, so I'm not trying to recreate. It's like that madness that happened. And I don't say try to recreate because you'll never recreate. You don't want to ever be copies of it like that. But there's a formula there, and the formula was, it's like I think in Gladiator, you know what he says, like there's the small shows, and then you build up to the Coliseum, and it kind of is like that.
Yeah.
When you build up you're not only your small shows, but you're following. People that want to buy your t-shirts, people that want to be emotionally involved with you now, people that want to see you walking around the shopping centre now, they're like, oh my god. And that, there's a great saying, when you let your light shine, subconsciously you give other people the permission to allow theirs to shine.
Yeah.
And when someone sees you in a shopping centre after watching you on a stage, you can see it in their face.
It's a difference.
They're like, you're just like me. And you're like, yes, we am. It's the permission. Just fucking go for it, bro. You know what I mean?
There's no real change in them. But in terms of the training, when you're here and you're on the mats, what is the Like, what's the mindset difference? You have to go in and say, right, I have a fight coming up here. It's UFC. It's going to be a big card. Like, I need to focus on one specific part of my game. Like, let's say I'm looking for triangles, or I'm looking for leg locks. I know in the book you talk about defending leg locks.
Yeah.
Was there different levels to that in each camp? Or was it just go out and...
It's random. Let's be straight with you. Look, when I fought in Nova Scotia, my opponent changed on 5 days notice.
Yeah.
So that's another bit of advice. Don't set yourself up for certainty, you know what I mean? Because you can never be for certainty. I can control me. I can control what I'm doing. I can control, obviously, after a little while you grow an arsenal of like a fight IQ, different ways to deal with different styles, different people, smaller guys, longer guys, wrestlers, maybe jiu-jitsu fighters, just stand up. So after a little while, guys a southpaw, that's going to happen in a week.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're fighting a guy that stands the other way. So if you set your mind up and you're a little bit weak-minded, you'll break on that fall. Okay. So the minute they're like, right, you've got a new opponent and he's a southpaw, and it's like, what? But I've been putting it. Yeah. Don't ever do that. So prepare for everybody and fight everyone. That's what was always my attitude. You know what I mean? I would have fought anybody.
Yeah.
Straight. I don't think there's ever a time I got a phone call where I was like, no, not that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now there's a few guys out there maybe now that I would have been like, you know what I mean? Don't link me with him. You know.
And do you think was there any element of it? And I suppose this is even going to be a change of direction, but I know there's a huge psychological element of it. Was there any element of it that was like a spiritual element that you? Because I know when we were talking before this, you were talking about like getting out to the forest and what your grandfather taught you and stuff. Was there a spiritual element that you felt that there was someone looking down on you when you were doing it? Did you have that side of things?
100. Everything I do, I know. So this sounds crazy, but in my life, I really feel like there's like a hand on my back and it's guiding me through. Like, I'm not really holy, like Catholic Church holy or like other organised religions holy, but I absolutely am connected on a spiritual level to things that's like, it blows my mind sometimes in a way. It really does. Like with photographs, and I won't even go into all that kind of stuff, but there's some stuff, there's this orbs and stuff, they follow me around in a way. Sometimes I can do a video and it's like I can feel it around me, and then I look at the video back and I can see they don't go in straight lines. It's weird. It's a spiritual kind of thing, but smaller thing, absolutely. When you share that moment with somebody, everyone else in that arena, if you've got 10,000 people in that arena, they all feel different except you and that guy in the other corner. So in a big collection of humans with spiritual shifts and whatever which frequency we're all tuned in on, these are in like circus and bread party mode. And the two of yous are in this gladiator mode where it's like one of us leaves here in a way, and you're never thinking like, oh well, the ref's going to step in and it'll be grand. It's not. Your body thinks you're going to die in that moment, and in that moment you've got to either like panic and let it consume you, or you've got to be looking over and like
and trying to
ride the wave, just ride the wave. Like, and spiritual wise, yes, out in the woods, all of the sea, all of these things. There's a great guy named Spinoza. I don't know if he's a great guy. He's a 17th century thing. He might be a great guy. So maybe delete that out because something will happen in 5 years, alright? And they'll go back and go, he loved your man Spinoza, and I'll be cancelled. There's a guy named Spinoza, right? He's a 17th century skeptic basically, and he has a letter from God basically, and he talks about God. He talks about what God would be saying to people now if you wrote a letter. And it's like, how dare you bring people to these cold buildings and tell them that's where I am. I'm in the woods, I'm in the sea, I'm in your kid's face. What more evidence do you need from me to be this like, listen, look around you? And I remember reading that letter and going, yeah, he's fucking right. He's right. You know what I mean? It's like, when you look at birth, when you see when your kids are born and stuff like that and all, it's like, that's it. That's where he is. It's right here in this moment where that was happening. And if you're sitting in that moment of birth or whatever it is going, I wonder if there's a God out there.
Yeah.
There's something incredible happening here. And the sad thing about people these days, maybe this is where we're at, maybe this is where society is falling down, they think they know. Everyone thinks they know. The guy that owned the abandoned mansion from the 1800s, with all of the land, all of the cow, he thought he knew. But now he's dead. And now it's rotten.
Yeah.
And all the fields are someone else's. Nobody owns anything. You're a little in time and you're going through it. So if you're big enough to kind of, I don't know, I know it all. And then you're dead. You don't. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you don't know that, well then you don't fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all going that way, and that's it. So if you are what is here and what's that, then you will remain here, I think.
What's up, guys? Robbie here. I hope you are enjoying the podcast so far. I want to take a moment just to personally ask you for your help. If you're enjoying the podcast, would you be willing to share it with someone you think would love it too? Maybe a friend, family member on social media, or even if you just brought it up in conversation with someone you know. The recommendation means the world to us, and it's because of people like you that we get to be able to produce this podcast on a weekly basis. So thank you so much for your support so far, and I would love if you could help us reach even more people who could benefit from it too. Really appreciate you, and we're going to jump straight back to the podcast. Do you bring that into your training when you're coaching? Is that something, or even into your, like, let's actually look outside coaching, because I know you're a coach as a father. Yeah. Do you bring that into your, when you're teaching your kids that there is that, I guess, supernatural around them, there is power around them, they only have a short time here, that they should try to make it as good as they can while they are here?
It's just trying to get them away from the distractions these days. It breaks my heart. As I mentioned, that ninth generation there, like, the cream of the crop, right? I hope that my sons will have the grit that I have. Yeah. But statistically, I don't think so. Because I grew up in a tough place. Tough places create tough people. Tough people create good times. Good times create soft people. Soft people create hard times. And we go in the circle of this, and I'm trying to look at that square of what's going on. And how can we, like, and then you've got these other people that are trying to spin that circle faster by social media, algorithm, all this kind of stuff. And my kid fell asleep at the circus the other day. He's 15. That's an example for you. He's at the circus. He's 15, and he belonged in any bar stool in Ireland. Having a little snooze during the interval he was. So I tagged David Ryan in a picture of him. The TV is like, what are you doing to the youth, David? And how fall asleep.
How do you keep him away from the distractions? Because like I have a younger brother as well. He's 15. And my God, like there is a life outside of the life that we're living anyway online with the way they're living, like their whole social everything, and it's funny because he'll still go train and he'll still do all that. And I'm not shitting on you, Dara. But
he is. What you saying for this?
But I know he still does all his training and stuff like that. But it seems to be that's the social element at the moment is all online. Like it's not going out and meeting each other, meeting in the parks or going for, you know, like just meeting each other in general. Like I think this is such an underestimated, or it's such a powerful thing, meeting people, because you get a better understanding of them, you get a better understanding of the body language, what they're trying to tell you. Are they going to be missing out on that in years to come, do you think?
It's all by design. It's like, if you look at, like, say, what we went through with the COVID thing, the biggest word that everyone was using was social distance. Let's break that down. Let's get a breakdown for social, and then a breakdown for distance, and then actually, we didn't need social distance. We need physical distance.
Yeah.
And when I said to people sometimes, they're like, well, that's actually a good point. I'm like, well, why do you think it was just by mistake that they just came out with social? No, they wanted to keep social people, they wanted to keep groups socially away from each other. Was it to take over the world? Was it to reset with Klaus Schwab and all? I know it sounds mental, but there's only 1 million books wrote on this, and everyone's talking about it everywhere. But you're not allowed to talk about it because that's mental shit, you know what I mean? So that's, maybe it is by design. So what I do to my kids, and what I do is, and all I can do, they're their own crafts, they're their own beings. What my grandfather did with me was he planted seeds. Yeah. He didn't tell me what to do, he didn't show me what to do, he planted seeds. And as time went on, experience watered them seeds. And now I stand in places where sometimes I get really emotional because one of the seeds maybe like blossoms. I see it. He was saying that for this. And it makes you nearly connected with that person who's dead. So he was a smarter man than I ever gave him credit for at the time, because he was, I don't know how he was doing it, but he was making me, like, he used to sit me down on Saturday mornings, I was telling you, after wrestling, and we'd watch the Doll and Ensel House, and he'd be talking to him, this person, there's some people still there, that's the worst thing about it. Yeah. My granddad died at 15 when he was 15. And they're still there, these people, and it's getting worse. So it's like, imagine we go to the shop and it was just shit. You know what I mean? No one mopped the floors. Life was falling down. Every week it got worse.
Yeah.
We would be out of business. But the reason why the government isn't out of business and why these people are still there is because me and you are the bank. There's no circumstance, there's no responsibility, and all it has to do is be the perception of responsibility and the perception of look at what we're doing. And it'll always be, the speech will start with like, there's some terrible stuff going on and we really need to do better, but we built 200 houses, and it's, you know, it's like they're talking about building 40,000 houses a year. They built 28,000 houses this year. Social houses, hundreds. That's what they've built.
Really?
Built to rent.
Built to rent, yeah.
The numbers don't lie unless you're reading them off the leading parties of this country's website.
Yeah. Actually, to go down that road, because I think it would be an interesting one, especially for, like, I would say that I'm not as, well, I'm nowhere near as tied into politics as what you are, but I'm not as aware of the politics that go on. But I kind of have this idea that surely the people that are there couldn't be bad, that it must be the system or there's something else that's doing it. What's your opinion on that? Not that is there a certain set of values there? Do you feel it's just hard to get things passed through inside?
I love history, right? And history, all of the answers are here in history. Yeah. So when you look at any like these medieval empires and the Aztecs and Romans and English empires and all, what they all have in common is greed. Yeah. So human beings are genetically greedy, I think, at times. So the saying is, we will always have enough for everybody's need, but we will never have enough for everybody's greed. Right? Now what happens with politicians? Now I'm not a politician, don't call me that P word, right?
Oh, sorry.
I am somebody who got fed up, getting angry over stuff that I could not do anything about. And I'm serving an apprentice to try and actually figure out what's actually going on and what can we do about this. And it's like, will I get it right? Hopefully. Will I get it wrong? Yes, I will. But I will be a student of this game. I'm 35 years of age in May. He's not getting rid of me. I'll be here till I'm 70. And my kids will be here after me. So we need to start making grooves in different directions where do I belong in the door? Do I belong in the house? Probably not, in a way, but I more than likely absolutely do.
I was going to say
because of the people. But do we belong in the? You don't understand politics. We don't understand their politics. That's politics that's been created over 100 years in this country. And what happens is power gets collected. When power gets collected, then it gets protected, and that's where we go with it. Right? So we're on this road where, do you know that if you're against something in a vote in the Dáil and you're in a party, you can't stand up and vote against that?
Really? Yeah.
You cannot. You get suspended for that.
Yeah.
So say if you I'm voting that we all have blue cars, and I'm voting that we all have red cars, and you're in my party but you like red cars, you have to vote for a blue car. You have no choice.
Yeah.
So basically 3 people run the country. So we're in these they're like, oh, groupthink is dangerous. Every political party is groupthink when it comes into it. It's like, when we all sit around and have discussions and have votes and all, it's a little bit more callous than that, I think. You know what I mean? It's like, sound, you don't like me, I'll see you on the other side. Yeah. It's cronyism. That's how it works. My mom's always said it like that. So to me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a wedge into in a different way in. If you're sick of what's going on, don't be standing outside the door and sort of that begging these millionaire TDs to come out and do something about it or help you or talk to you, because they'll only come out when it becomes the votes or it helps them. And that's just my shit. Now, not all of them. Yeah. Like everything, not all of them. I'm not saying about everybody, but a large percentage of them. All you have to do is look at a vote on where it's gonna go. Say the confidence in the housing minister. How could you have confidence in the housing minister when the housing minister is record? It's like our shop. It's on the floor. It's a shithole. He missed all of the targets, and they're like, not only made record targets. That's very easy. If I make the numbers from last year and the years before, and all of the other numbers, and then I'm beating my own numbers, that doesn't count. Yeah. And when you hear it, like, oh, record numbers. It's like, yeah, because you made the other numbers, and they were terrible. Yeah. And these ones are worse. So there's 11,000 people homeless here in Ireland at the moment. It's at a record number. People have 100 people, I think, roughly died last year from homelessness in this country. Nobody's talking about that, and they only count the numbers in Dublin. They don't count people who die outside. Yeah. It's so There's a lot of stuff in this country that when you turn on the news, it'll be like, there's a great Tommy Tiernan sketch. You ever see it? He's like where the Twin Towers were getting knocked down. He says, I came in, he said, I looked at the telly. He said, the Twin Towers had to get knocked down. And the man on the news is saying, the world is fucked, that's fucked. What did they just do that for? Right? And he said, and then I looked out the window, and it was children, and they were playing, and everything was grand. And I said, but the man on the telly's at the saying, the world's fucked. And he said, I'm trying to figure this out. He said, so I came to this moment, and I went out into the garden, and I stood around the children, and I said to them, the world is fucked. And I was like, it's a brilliant analogy on the way it is. It's like, because that's what it is. The telly's screaming this, but really outside it says, you want to bring that stuff outside and live in this world with that stuff on you. That's what we're doing at the moment. When you look at the telly now, everything is grand.
Yeah.
But it's not grand.
Okay.
You go into Dublin City, all you have to look around. You house it. It's people that are like 2-3 years of age growing up in box bedrooms. There's people who've been born into homelessness and are like 2 and 3 years of age. This is a disgrace. And you know what the thing is? There's 50,000 or something empty houses.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a not to go down that path of it, but it seems that there is isn't there an abundance of ghost estates around at the same time, or do they cancel those completely, or how do they work?
Here's why this would work, and this is, if the government had have reached their housing target this year, housing prices would have dropped by 12%. Guess who owns all the houses? A large percentage of them, 70% of TDs, probably more now, are landlords. So if you own all of these houses and you're renting all of these houses to people, why would you want to be shooting your own market? And there might be a time where it comes to election where they go, do you know what, let's take the chop now. But we're not getting, they're trading for votes. We saved the housing market. There's a new Taoiseach, and here's my prediction on it, that everything's going to be fixed over the next year or two. And anybody that's in opposition, stuff like that, are just going to be taking grenades. They're going to be taking political scandal after scandal, and that's all that's going to happen. And the people who want to run this country for another little while, who are part of the WEF, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab and all these guys, these are young global leaders, they're on the website. They will not admit this stuff in the door when they're asked for some reason. But why is all of these people in the same group that's basically admitted that they were going to infiltrate cabinets around the world? These are not my words. These are not conspiracy theory stuff. It's not Facebook stuff. If it happens to be on Facebook, but it happens to be like Lancet, you're not allowed to say it anymore. You know? So we're in a really crucial time for where information and debate and discussion is being absolutely savaged, and that only happens when tyranny is kicking in.
It's there's so many ways you could go after, so many avenues you could go down. Do you think that, and to move away from that specific subject on it, but do you feel that your political views, not a lot of the time, but do you feel that some of them are formed with up to when you were living
in Belfast?
In Belfast,
no, not at all.
You don't think that?
No, I think my diversity.
My
diversity comes from that. I've seen two neighbourhoods, two communities being bid against each other for many years. And then, as I said, one of them like seed popped in my head one day, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing this. We don't hate them. If we was living on that side of the road, it actually would be him. But they made us think that we hated each other. So when we're all fighting for resources, we're all fighting each other. All our anger is in a different place. It's all going towards the wrong place. It's going towards each other. Right now, they're doing it in Ireland, I think, with like with refugees and things. They're bidding people against each other, I think, you know, where what we really need is, and what I would be fighting for, is equality in the housing sector and the health sector. And what I mean by that is, if you're down on your luck and you're homeless, all bets are off. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter who. Now, obviously, there has to be regulations with like with immigration and stuff like this, with checks and stuff like that. Like if I went to Australia or Canada, and I would absolutely expect that. If I walked through Canada's thing and didn't, I'd be a bit weird. Would you?
If you just went straight.
Someone's gonna jump on me now. So I still get scared there, and you have all my teeth thought, and it's like, oh stop. But I still get a little bit nervous, like, oh. But I would expect that. But what's happening here, I think, is that everyone is aiming their anger towards the wrong people. You know, there's people being invited to this country and they're being promised things, and our government is not fulfilling that. right? And then people are being put in terrible situations as well, which they shouldn't be. Some of the conditions they're living in, they shouldn't be. City West has unisex showers, has children showering with males that they don't know, all sorts going on in City West. This is not me saying this, RTE just reported this the other day. So, but you won't see it getting push.
Yeah, it'll just be...
This should be massive. Them kids should be taken out of their place now. But, and anyway, nothing. But then you'll get people going, well, hold on. We want them out. And it's like, hold on. We shouldn't be fighting. Them houses are squalor for most people. So there should be equality in the housing sector. You need housing, all bets are off. If you're sick, all bets are off. There shouldn't be a situation where it's like, alright, we've got 5 million people on this island. Shouldn't be a situation where it's like, well, I actually have money, so I get my heart surgery and you die. Yeah. It's like, where is that? Where is the equality in that?
What do you feel then has... Obviously your grandfather had a huge impact on you when you were growing up, and obviously up the north. What else do you feel has kind of shaped your values around politics?
It's
because I know loyalty is a big one in the book. Loyalty is a big one in the book.
And loyalty has a way to go as well. It's like sometimes you can be loyal to something that is, I don't know, butchering you. You know what I mean? In a way, and you got to be able to recognise that as well. So what's that do? I'm not loyal to like ideologies or crazy beliefs around like that. I am loyal to the common sense that's happening and what's happening. That doesn't make sense. And if I'm wrong, explain it to me. And there's many times that has happened that I've said, I never seen that point of view. Right? And there's been many times in the council, some great civil services that are up there have said, I've had a question, like, hold on, why are we doing like this? And then they would say, and I go, oh, that makes so much sense. I didn't look at it like that.
As you have to.
That's what we need. To me, the politician word, it's not something I would want to be even associated with. A regulator of integrity in government is what I would like to be. Yeah. That's what we need. We need people, ordinary Joes, who are working in the communities to go in and empower the civil servants who actually do the jobs. They're the ones who do all the work. You think these guys are sitting down with architects and drawings and all? No. These people are making the drawings and bringing them to people and saying, please sign off on this because you're the elected one by the people to stand over the work that we're doing and sign off on it. And they go, no, I don't like that. And they have to change it and they have to bring it back to the politician. And this guy might have gone in on the 15th count or something like that. Yeah. And we need to know what that, all that understanding of that is. The next election, if you don't know, like someone getting on the 15th count means, we need to figure that one out. We're gonna do a video on it someday, I am. But let me tell you, I'm not saying I'm not talking down to people. I was already elected and I was like, I don't really know what that means. So I'm just being honest with you. I'm learning what I'm learning and I'm going to try and pass it on. People go, oh, I'm not really into politics. If you're not, your kids are not born yet, you don't have kids yet, so you need to be now so their future is better. And their future is secured in a way where they have got freedoms and they have got sovereignty and all of these things. These things are massive, you know. Yeah.
As a last, because I don't want to hold you any longer because I held you long enough.
Not really yet.
As a last, how do you, looking at the sports side of it, how do you feel that or let's say the likes of Jiu-Jitsu, likes of MMA, being a coach and that, how has that changed some of your values? Like how has that changed what you value in people, like and what you see in people?
Do you know what people are saying? I see the good in people, alright? And I could see somebody coming in here, and many times I have, and they would be like, they would look aggressive. They would even train like I don't know. I don't want to use it. What word that'll get me in trouble? Somebody who's fairly stiff, like aggressive, and you know what I mean? You do movements, so you know what I mean. Flow. Yeah. Looking at that flow. That's what jiu-jitsu is finding that. And you'll get that person that then you submit them once, twice, 3. And it starts falling away. It's like breaking in a horse in a way. Yeah. And you see that falling away. Most people, some people, they come in, if they don't like that, they run away straight away. Then you get some people that come in, they get intrigued by it. You get bodybuilders that come in and go, and all of a sudden they're on this mission to shred all of the weight now because they think that's burdening them and now they're getting tired from it, their frame's not made for it. And then you get other people that like basically come in and they're quiet and they don't really kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and then they fall in love. Yeah. And they become a civilized savage. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? In a way where you're like, that man is a savage, but he's a gentleman.
He's a killer,
He's a gentleman.
Silent killer, yeah.
So I love observing these things happening, and I'm absolute honoured to be able to do it in a facility that I created here.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? In the Holohan Martial Arts here, Green Hills Road is somewhere where we have 300 people training here. 80% of them are sorting their human being now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like desensitise them from what's going on out there, because we live in a crazy realm now, and you need a place to get away from your phone and be social and be a little bit primal and be in a safe environment.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm honoured to do here. And I just watch people's development, watching kids turning into like young enthusiastic teens into goal orientated men.
Yeah, it's grassroots. Like
Grassroots development,
yeah. It's and if anyone hasn't been here yet, I would definitely say to check it out. It's Hooligan Martial Arts in Tala. For if you don't know the Green Road.
There's no membership anymore available in Kingston anyway. I don't think there's any spots left anyway.
Oh really? Yeah.
So we're kind of like full to the brim, but
always a good sign.
There'll always be lists in here and stuff like that. So some people like obviously move away and stuff like that. And all, but I think we've got about 10-20 spots left in here.
Oh nice. Okay, really.
It, you know, now we've been trying to fill it for a while, but it's a village, you know. So
yeah.
Like any village in our own society, there's only a capacity, you know. I mean, there's a capacity, and someone has to be monitoring that.
That's it, and you want the right people in there as well, which is a big thing. But to be honest, Paddy, as I said to you at the start, you were one that put me on the path for jiu-jitsu, which is something that I think is a huge thing for me, and I really appreciate that.
Oh man, Daddy, keep doing it.
Yeah, I'll have to come back here at some stage and
absolutely. You're more than welcome here. We do Sunday Mass here. We do 11. We call it Sunday Mass. Everyone meets up from all around the country. Everyone can come in.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, and we do 5 in the gate, 5 no gate every Sunday.
Jesus, I'll have to make one of those. Yeah, but honestly, thanks a million for jumping on today. Really interesting insight into, first off, your own mindset and what developed it, and I think then leading that into where you're going now at the moment and what you're doing with it, having a bigger, as I should say, having a bigger impact, having a bigger impact to it, which is a huge thing that not a lot of people can stand.
We all have a part to play, and little bits make up big parts. I'm telling you. But everyone out there at the moment that's frustrated and all this kind of stuff, I'm telling you, you need to just get focused on it. Try and figure out one little piece at a time. And the more you understand, like anything, the less anxious you will be, the less nervous you will be. You know, like, but it's a beautiful world out there.
Oh, it is.
Really is.
It is. So thanks a million for jumping on, Paddy. But that's all for today. You're a gentleman.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Okay guys, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking to learn more about what we do, as well as check out any of the mobility and pre-em programs we have available, just head over to the description of this podcast and you will find a link to all the programs there. As always, thank you for listening, and I will chat to you all again in the next episode. Have a good one.